So firstly, great to have you, Stephen. And what we'll do now is ChatGPT. So everyone's talking about this, but what actually is it for someone who's never heard of it before, even to someone who has, but what actually is it in detail, and why do you think everyone's talking about it?
Sorry, guys, that's my phone because I'm logging into ChatGPT. So hang on, let me just log in. So ChatGPT, right, it's a chatbot basically. That's what it is. It's a learning engine that is built on the GPT-3 family of language models that have been released by OpenAI. OpenAI is a company that Elon Musk is involved with, and it is basically building a self-learning open architecture to then allow people to access this thing. And look, when you're talking a thing, this is big. This is basically supercomputer that's searching for data. One thing you have to remember with ChatGPT at the moment is it's not connected to the internet. They disconnected it from the internet 2 years ago. And what they're actually doing with ChatGPT is refining its language model. So it's interactive speak and talk and how it goes. So they're fine tuning that model so it can speak more like a human. And why that is important is because it's going to be able to replace everyday language. So think of the chatbots that you have online now. You know, they're very clunky. They're not very good. They can really only just put back text that has been basically pre-written and all that. What this bot will be able to do is it'll think of it. So instead of using a chatbot online going, you know, can I find, say you go to the Toyota website and you're looking for the service manual for a Prius or something and can't find certain things, they could have a chatbot on there that for a mechanic that could go, I'm looking for blah, 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 blah. This are the symptoms. And then because it knows the whole universe around Toyota cars and diagnostic problems and other problems before, it could then interact with that mechanic as if it was a person-to-person conversation saying, you know, have you checked this? Have you done this? Go and have a look at this. The common symptoms are this, 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 and this. So that's why the language model is so, I was going to say, I'm trying to think of, is so relevant to what they're trying to do, is to get that interaction as if you and I are having a conversation. Where is it going to go? And where we're seeing like the 0.5% of what this thing can do. We're basically seeing the 0.001% of what it can be used for. And why everyone is talking about it is it's disrupting industries at this such small level, right? The people that are jumping on it, and look, there's a lot of people jumping on it online saying, do this course and I'll make you a millionaire using ChatGPT. They're scammers. They're just trying to rip money out of you. Really just go and use it yourself and use it for what you're actually looking for. Everyone should log on to it and at least try it. And, you know, just do shitty things. Like, what did I do the other day? Oh, I said, can you write me a song in the context of the Beach Boys for a friend's 50th birthday? And I just let it go, and it wrote me a song in the Beach Boys style. And then I just sent that to him, you know, and then had a poem written for someone else, and just using it for little things like that. Just start doing that. We're using it a lot more in our businesses to write blog posts, to set up framework around deep interaction with customers online, basically saying, okay, for instance, one of the engineering businesses I've got is we're using it to write short blog posts and short content that explains TIG welding, MIG welding, machining, and all this sort of stuff that goes on behind the scenes to build you a trailer, for instance, right? And all that sort of stuff, and having it talk about those sort of topics, then in explainer videos by using some other AI. So we take the script that's written in ChatGPT, we then take it to another AI platform that does text to speech. But it's not that robotic, shitty text to speech. This is as if it's been talked to about like you or I. It's really good speech. It's taken the platform that we use. One of them is actually called Descript. We don't use that. We use another one. It's a very high-end platform. Costs us about $1,000 a month. And you can actually test. You can say, I want a female voice, mid-30s, and then it'll give you a sample of that voice, and then it comes out and you go, okay, yeah, we'll use that. Very similar to Descript, but Descript's using your voice or using a video and someone else's voice. So that's why this is such a big thing, and it's why everyone's talking about it. A lot of people are also talking about it because they don't know what it is. A lot of people are scared of this, and it is actually going to disrupt pretty much every industry that I know. So.
Yeah, it is crazy, and pretty much touching on that, there's a lot of hype around it. People are speaking really positively of it, especially as business owners. They're saying how much it's going to save time and resources. Then employees, even I've heard employees starting to use it when they're writing their emails for their job. I've heard of different people leveraging the software, but people are talking all this hype about it. But when you look at the flip side of it, especially for employees, are people going to be losing jobs, or what's the drawbacks of this whole software, just AI in general? Where's things going to go, especially in businesses and employment?
Oh yeah, look, I think people could start losing their jobs over this. I was just saying before we come onto here, in my firm, especially in my developing firm, we've gone from 5 developers to 1. Purely and simply because the one developer now, using AI, can write script a lot quicker, a lot easier, a lot cleaner. You know, it's just I'm mind blown, really, with where this can go. So we've saved ourselves 4 salaries already, which means that we can put that into other things like marketing, or we can hire more strategic people. So the nature of work around this will change. And those that have followed us on the economic updates would have heard me say that technology is going to disrupt work. Robotics, AI, automation is going to disrupt white-collar jobs, blue-collar jobs, pink, brown, black, whatever color jobs you want to talk about. They're all going to be disrupted by this technology. So someone the other day asked me, what would you tell my son to get into? Me being me, I said, well, tell him to become an investor and start buying companies. But if he wants a trade or something, get into computer science, data science. So the other side of AI, and a firm that we've been involved with over the years, it pretty much uses data science to underpin all its marketing, right? So all that that used to be done by people with spreadsheets and all that sort of stuff can all be automated now. You're using these, simple AIs, and this is not the only one. There's 3 or 4 others out there. Why this one has taken the world by storm is its simple nature, its chat nature. It's easy to use. Everyone can use it. You could train a monkey to use this thing tomorrow. So.
Yeah, and that's a really good point. It is really simple. And I remember I think it was last week's economy update or 2 weeks, you mentioned about convenience, that's what everyone's looking for. And that's why ChatGPT is taken by storm, is because it's so convenient and easy to use. But you look at it more from business owners' perspective, what type of things can you actually use the software for on ChatGPT? And before we actually go into a screen share of showing real life what it's actually like from your computer, what can you actually use it for? Because I know I've seen people use it for marketing, but I know there's a lot more to it. Like you've mentioned, you've used it for coding. I know I've used it for writing certain templates for, say, rescheduling a webinar. I've used it for writing out process drafts, like an actual business process and procedure. But what kind of things as a business owner can you actually use it for, and which departments does it fit in?
Pretty much it fits in every department. Every department will have a use. So where we're tending to use it the most at the moment, because it's the easiest place to implement it, is in managerial positions, saving time on writing investment cases and business plans and stuff like that for banks. That we do on a quite a routine basis. We're also using it, as you said, to write code for in our tech development offices and businesses. We're using it to write marketing plans. We're using it to write blog posts. We're using it to write Facebook stuff. So the marketers out there, a lot of marketers that I talk to say, oh yeah, it's shit, it'll never do this and never do that. Whenever I hear anyone say that, all they're doing is protecting their turf, because they're not actually opening their mind and getting on and grabbing a trend. This is a trend to actually get on, because it's got a real life purpose. Now, so marketing, general bits and pieces are on filling out procedures manuals. I think you mentioned procedures manuals before. We've used it to rewrite procedures manuals, bring stuff up to date and all that sort of stuff. I've personally been using it to write a couple of books, take my knowledge and rewrite it. So what you can do is you can put, say, a paragraph in on a topic and have it rewrite it for a certain style, or have it rewrite it for better language. So you can actually you don't really need an editor for a lot of the stuff. What else have we've used it for? There's heaps. It does have some limitations at the moment because it's not connected to the internet. But some of the other AI platforms that we're using as well, and there's a few of them that are actually plugged in to the GPT-3 stack behind this, which is behind ChatGPT. And that's probably something that I didn't really say, is that ChatGPT is the chat layer, the chat bot that's on the brain that is called GPT-3, right? So that's why. And then there's other plugins that API into GPT-3, and some of these have been really good. Descript is one that I've mentioned before. There's another one out there I've just gone blank. Da Vinci, and that will can fine tune marketing proposals or blog posts or safety. There's even stuff around safety diagrams, even though most of it's American, like safety procedures and evacuation plans and all that. A lot of it is American. You can ask it to change it, but man, if it can write something that's 80% of the way there, and then you go through and then just edit it for the last 20%, you're going to save yourself 80% of time, because this thing does it in 60 seconds or less. So, yeah.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. That's why it's scary where this is going to go, but also exciting if you use it in the right way. So what we'll do now is do you have your iPad up to go through the ChatGPT and some examples of how people can actually use it?
Yeah, so
I've
opened up my laptop, and what I'll do is I'll can you see my laptop?
I can see the top off. Oh yeah, there we go. That looks good. Yeah.
So let me work out how to set that there. All right. So you can see my laptop there. So down the bottom here is the chat thing. So if you go in here and say, let's go, give me 5 topics on, I don't know, what should we write about? 5 topics on whales for blog posts. Now, one thing you've got to remember is the better your questions, the better it works. Now, my questions aren't always the best. So sometimes it's just frozen on me. And that could be because
strange.
Yeah, it might be the hotel Wi-Fi. 5 topics for blog posts. Files. Wondering if it's a hotel Wi-Fi.
It could be, because while that's loading, a funny use, because when you were saying about you writing a song using ChatGPT and also writing poems, it reminded me that I saw a video on Facebook, I think it was, or Instagram, where someone actually used a multitude, like multiple AI softwares, including ChatGPT, to actually write a song as if it was written by Drake, the rapper. So he used ChatGPT to write the lyrics, and then he copied those lyrics and put onto a voice recognition AI software, and that was used to you get Drake's voice, and then he used another AI to actually create a beat. So put that all together, he pretty much wrote a song by Drake using only AI.
Yeah, there must be a network connect. It keeps coming up saying network error, attempting to fetch. So there must be, the hotel Wi-Fi must be stopping me using it. And I'm finding that, yeah, look, it's all dropping out.
Yeah, that could be it. Oh, let me see if I can get it up on my computer. That could work.
Yeah. That's why, another reason I hate fucking Australia.
Oh, I know, right? The internet is ridiculous in Australia.
Man, I was just talking before to a guy that lives in Norfolk Island, and him and his wife were saying how bad the internet is here. And they live on fucking Norfolk Island in the middle of fucking nowhere.
Yeah. Like, I remember, I don't know if it's still the same, but I think it was last year or 2 years ago, apparently, even third world countries had internet than Australia.
Oh, way better. Way, way better. Yeah. I can't even open my email now.
Gee, well, let me see. Let me, I'll share my screen and then we'll see if we can come up with some commands. All right, so here we are. What we'll do now is we'll share some commands and just give some practical examples of what type of things you can use it for in your business. So the first one that you were originally trying to do, Stephen, was something in the marketing department. If you wanted to actually write a blog post, for example, so let's say 5 topics.
5 topics on whales.
Five topics. So here we are. Types of whales. So then from this here, when you get these topics, like you can use this pretty much for anything. Like, because I actually did something similar to this for give me 10 blog ideas for gold and silver, something like that. And then it came up with a list of topics. So then what we can then do here is what do you do next from here? Do you actually use this? So let's say we like this idea, the types of whales, writing a blog on that. Would you do a command like
write? And on we go, write 1,200 words, or write a 1,200 word blog post, right?
On types of whales.
Yeah, on types of whales.
So yeah, it is crazy what this can do. It's capable of a whole lot.
Doing it.
Yeah, no, it's much quicker than any human can do this. So how does it actually get all this information? Is it just from searching the web and searching all the networks?
Yeah, so it's basically uploaded, the web in a way.
So yeah,
and
it's crazy.
we've had this checked. So we've written blog posts and then had them checked in not perjury. What do they call it? Plagiarism software. To see how they rank. And we get 100%, or very high 99% ratings on everything that it writes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, that's just crazy. Yeah, because another thing too, I've used it for if we create a new chat here, I've used it for stuff like write a procedure for file organization. That's one that I've recently used it for, or even write a procedure for, let's say, hiring a new staff member or staff member leaving, write a procedure for that. You can see it writes your process, and something like this just saves a lot of time rather than having to create your own. You can kind of get an outline. So that's something that I found really handy. Another thing too, I've used it for myself is something like write email template for rescheduling a webinar. Like, let's say we want to reschedule a webinar with GWC. This is actually something that I've played around with. There's an email template for this. So you can see they just spits out a email template here for it and saves a lot of time doing it. And it keeps it really simple. That's what I like about it.
Yeah.
So while we're here, what are some other examples of stuff that you've used it for in your business? And then we can actually see it in real time, seeing what it spits out.
Oh God. I'm just trying to go through all the chats that I've got here. We've used it for heaps. So the other one was the development stuff. What was it? Right. So to change the car button.
So then, for example, another thing too in the marketing department, you can use it for that. I've played around with a little bit is if you do podcasts or you do interviews, you can even write 7 questions to interview about AI. Let's say we just choose that, seeing as we're talking about it right now. You can see that it just comes up with a lot of different ideas. Obviously, you don't have to use all the ideas, but it just gives you a good questions to play around with. So this is another good feature of in my mind.
Yeah, so I just here's one here. I'll just can you see my screen? So basically what I did there is, so for if you're doing work on WooCommerce, right? I've basically said, you know, write me some code. Hang on, there we go. So I said, write me some code to change the WooCommerce button to be round and blue. So it tells you where to go in the thing to do it, right? And then it tells you how to, what CSS code that you need to put in, and then away you go, right? So it's actually written the code and it's telling us where to put it. So, you know, excuse me. So if you're now doing this yourself or have a team member, right, you can actually get ChatGPT to actually write you the code and tell you where to put it in WordPress pages.
Wow. So this can actually be used to teach yourself stuff.
Yeah, 100%. The teaching aspect of it is huge. Especially for things like coding. And I just typed that in then. I just did that 2 seconds ago. You know, write code to change cart button in WooCommerce to be round and blue. And then it says, blah, 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 blah. Here's an example of how you can do this, blah, blah, blah. So then you can go and actually do it. So let's go change H1 size in WordPress to 50 point. All those people out there, you know. So it's just telling you how you can do it. H1 size 50 point, blah blah blah. Yeah. So if you don't know how to do something in WordPress, right? There it is. It's just I just said to ask that change H1 size in WordPress to 50 point. So now it's putting the H1. You put that into your CSS file. Add the following CSS code to the button of the style sheet. Find style sheet.css, open it, bang, 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 bang. So it's telling you how to adjust the code, right? That's just one very quick, easy way of using this to teach yourself how to use different parts of different software. Let's do, let's go a new chat. Write a poem in the style of, I don't know, Beach Boys for a 21st birthday. Let's see what it comes up with.
So yeah, there you go. Even if you're looking, if you get stuck on writing birthday card messages or even Facebook posts to celebrate someone's birthday, you've got your best friend ChatGPT here. So
Yeah.
it's funny it's funny you brought this up for a birthday, because I found out like 3 weeks later or something that my mom's birthday post she did for me when my birthday was about a month ago, she actually used ChatGPT. The whole message was just AI generated. And I'm like, come on, you couldn't have given me something sentimental, but at least you're leveraging your time.
Yeah. Yeah. So you can use it for cutesy stuff like that, you know, or you can use it for serious, you know, educating yourself on WordPress or other software type stuff. Using it to actually write more code. Using it to set up your marketing plans. You know, marketing, let's go 30-day Facebook post plan for goat farm. Here we go. And it's just laying out a whole plan. Like, this is very, very easy commands. Like, you can make the commands more detailed.
That's incredible.
So this is a 30-day plan, right, for a goat farm. What you could do in 30 days, and you know, share a post. Now, what you could do is, once you got all those ideas, you can then take each one of those and say, develop me a blog post, develop me a you know, a small thing. Then you can take it to some of the other AI platforms out there, the marketing ones, and then get the images done.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So there you go. There's a yeah, got to hang up at the 29th. Sometimes it does that. I find it does get hung up in the last couple, but that's also because they haven't. You remember that this is still in test phase, right? This is still a thing, and you know, it's a Saturday, so there's probably 50 billion people at home all trying to drive on it at once. But as I said, you know, this is, we're not even into the 1% of this thing being used.
Yeah, no, it's actually scary when you think about it, because AI is only in the very early stages. They talk about it being in the really early stages of development. So where there's talks that AI will be smarter than humans, I mean, we're already seeing to a degree it can be more intelligent and faster than humans. And when give it like another 50 years or something, it's just, I don't see how it's possible for any human to have a job. That's just my take on it.
I think that there's always going, so, and I'll rephrase this. There will be jobs for those who are smart, right, and are at the top of the tree and essential, right? What this is taking away is the jobs from those that are not essential. So things like, what technology does and what convenience does is convenience sorts out, and technology like this sorts out those that are expendable to those who aren't. So if you're expendable in the world, you're going to get rid of. I'll never be expendable in this world because I'm at the top of the tree. I'm the business owner. I'm the investor. Right? So I'm the guy who is basically driving the bus on different businesses, you know, and everything that I do is in the essential world, right? So our key areas are transportation, mainly air transportation, energy, housing, through our tiny host business, and engineering manufacturing. Those are essential things. They're always going to be needed, right? Now, how the jobs inside those businesses get done, I'm turning to stuff like this. I'm turning to robotics. I'm turning to automation. I'm turning to AI to make things simpler. The digital marketing world is shitting itself right now, and I can tell you it is, because my head of digital was at a conference in Bangkok last week, and everyone there was talking about basically I lose my job to AI. And they've done it themselves because they've pushed everything so hard and so expensive to actually do. High-end copywriters, yeah, you'll probably survive. But I'd be making sure that you're in an area where you're using AI and you're using that to increase your throughput. Working smarter, not harder. Or otherwise, pretty much AI is coming for you. So, and as we said, like, people who are really smart at question writing, ChatGPT, you get the best out of it if you're really good at question writing. A lot of the times I'm not the smartest at writing questions. I've got other people that do that for me. But if you can really formulate a question that this can answer, it's a very powerful tool.
Yeah, definitely. There's a lot can be used for. So that pretty much wraps up on ChatGPT, the software. So there's plenty of uses in summary. It's only scratched the absolute surface of what it's actually capable of. So where this goes, who knows? But we can already see that it's going to be capable of a lot. And you can either use it to leverage your career, whether you're a business owner or a employee. But if you're not constantly progressing your skill set, then eventually AI, the more it develops, and you've got to be proactive, because if you're not, you could be losing a job to a technology like this if you just stay where you are right now. And that's why with GWC, we're all about education, constantly upskilling yourself and then learning and evolving, and most importantly, adapting with the times so that you're financially prepared. So any final words from you, Stephen, on ChatGPT and AI in general before we move to the next topic?
Make sure you're learning it. One of the things, I think I mentioned this in one of the other blog posts we had, is the way children are taught are still taught in such an archaic way that they're 100% brainwashed. What the education system will be afraid of with something like this is it getting into the school system. And look, pretty much kids are going to be using it now to write homework. I'll guarantee it. If they're not, the kids they should be. I'd be doing it. Shit, anything that I could do to cheat, I would. But I don't actually call it cheating. I'd call it being smart and leveraging my time the best way. The whole education system is going to have to change. This will I'm hoping that stuff like ChatGPT will force the education system to change. Will it? I'm not sure, because the way that the politicians are using education is to brainwash children to vote their way of thinking. Now, someone on one of the things said, could ChatGPT provide a biased view? Yes, it could, depending on what its knowledge base is. But I think that it'll get smart enough. And if you ask it, give me an anti-vaxxer's view, or it's because it comes down to your questions, right? If you ask the right questions, you're going to get the answer that you desire or you seek. Now, if you're looking for truth, you've got to answer. You got to frame the question in a different way, right? And in the world of AI and digital, in the digital world, the truth is going to be a very hard thing to decipher. But that said, the comparisons that have been done on Wikipedia versus Encyclopedia Britannica, which was the old record of truth, is pretty close. Encyclopedia Britannica got it right about 95% of the times, and Wikipedia gets it right about 93% of the times. So that's pretty close. And look, a lot of the topics that are a bit controversial, they're always going to be controversial because emotion and opinion becomes highly in play. But on topics, on certain topics, especially around history, things like AI will be able to scan all the different variations of it and work out which is the more likely. I forget what is it? What's the I'm trying to think of what there's a philosophy, Occam's razor. That's it. And it's a philosophical tool. So it's about problem solving. I'm just trying to find a really good definition of it, because I always get it wrong as well. But Occam's razor basically says if it's likely to not happen, I'll get the right one. Sorry, guys. I'm still having problems with this bloody computer. Oh, that's better. So it's a problem-solving principle that recommends searching for explanations constructed with the smallest possible set of elements. It is also known as the principle of parsimony or the law of parsimony. Latin, yeah, that's a big one. William Ockham, 14th century, he was a philosopher and theologian. It's frequently cited as entities must not be multiplied beyond necessity, although Occam never used these exact words. It pretty much comes to the point that if something, and look, what I'm trying to say here is that it's a scientific method, right, of finding out what is more plausible to be true, or what is being falsified. So I'm just trying to find, there's a really good, I can't find it. I had a really good definition of it. It's about simplicity and truth is the best way of defining it. So hang on a minute, I'm going to have to plug you in. I'm using too much power everywhere. Typical. That's better. All right. Sorry there. Got it. But if in your thinking you use principles like Occam's razor, or you use thought theory and stuff like that, that gets really good questions, well, we can get the best answers out of these AI, these systems, right? And that's all it's about. That's all you're looking at is trying to get the best out of these things that you can, because there will always be someone out there trying to buy something to rewrite history. So.